I happened to glance up, and the clear sky was gone.
Coast to coast, all night, every night.
All I could see was something round and black.
On WGNS, AM, FM, online. The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome into WGNS and the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzer, founder and executive director of First Shot, and I get to welcome in a candidate for city council here, but I've gotten to know you a little bit over the last 6 months. Matt Herriman, welcome in.
Thank you, Coach. It's good to be here.
Well, let's kind of just history a little bit. I read a little bit on you. Grandfather, mother, in the real estate business in West Tennessee. Mm-hmm. We never say our city in this state. It's either East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. I always said where I grew up, what little town, hick town I grew up in, northern Indiana. So tell us the town you grew up in.
Bolivar. So Bolivar, Tennessee. If you're looking at geography, it's kind of between Jackson and Memphis, off the beaten path, town of probably 6,000 people when I was growing up, and still 6,000 people.
I mean, there are towns that keep their identity.
Yeah.
So talk about your grandfather, your mom, how they've influenced you, because you are a realtor now.
Yep. Yeah. So I obviously grew up in a really small town in West Tennessee, Bolivar. My granddad was very active in he was a civil servant, really. He never held elected office, but he was very active in local politics. He was on and off the planning commission through the years, served in, part of the Rotary Club, part of the county Republican Party. Everybody in town knew E.W. McKinney. And so, one of my favorite things in the summer, instead of going out and hanging out with friends, I'd tell my mom, I'd say, go take me to Papa's office. I want to go hang out with Papa. So I'd go, and she'd drop me off, and he'd be sitting reading the newspaper, catching up on what's going on, and then we'd go to breakfast and shake hands in the coffee shop, and maybe go to an appraisal appointment or a listing appointment or an auction. And so very early on for me, community was instilled as a value that is really important, and that you give back to your community, you're involved in your community. And so really the stage was set early for me in life that's just what you do. And he passed away probably 6 weeks ago.
Sorry to hear that.
In a lot of ways, I've kind of dedicated this campaign to him because, two of my passions are real estate and politics, and really those came from spending so much time with him growing up. I think the world of him is kind of my hero.
So, talk about your family, your wife, your children.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so I moved here out of college. I graduated University of Tennessee, moved here in, I guess, the summer of 2013. Started going to church at New Vision Baptist here in town. And at the time, they had I guess the young adult ministry was called the college age ministry, and they even defined it 18 to 25. So I was like, okay, so I can, even though I've graduated, I can still fit in this crowd.
Plug in.
That's right. So I started going to that. It was called The Point. They still call it The Point, and meet some actually on MTSU's campus, I think, occasionally, a few times a semester. But that's where I met my wife. So started going to New Vision, and this pretty brunette girl that I kept seeing around, who grew up here. She went to Blackman High School, name's Morgan, played volleyball, and so we met that summer while I was here in Murfreesboro, and got married in August of 2015, so 9 years ago. I've been together 10, and got 3 beautiful kids. 7, they're Judah, Isaiah and Nora, so 7, 5, and then our little girl is almost 3. So she'll be 3 at the end of August.
Awesome. Talk about what brought you here. I mean, here you are, grew up in West Tennessee, went to East Tennessee to college. I won't call that college out. No, I'm just messing. The University of Tennessee, who, by the way,
pretty good baseball team
right now.
Rolling
Drew
a little
Beam
bit baseball. Did a fantastic job. I don't know if you watched last night.
I did.
But in our household, usually in the morning, first thing my oldest son asks is, "Does Tennessee play today?" So he was excited to see the Murfreesboro.
Early in this
That's exactly right. So he was real excited to watch Murfreesboro native Drew Beam last night, and he was hot for 6 innings. He did a phenomenal job to get us 2-0 is a big deal in the College World Series.
Yes. So again, family, church-oriented, Christ-centered man. But what brought you from? You had already discovered the 2 other parts of our state.
Yeah.
What brought you to Middle Tennessee State?
Yeah, so I guess really I was exposed or lived in Middle Tennessee my junior year, second semester of my junior year at UT. I interned at the state legislature, which is, I tell people all the time, especially young people who I get to speak to that are, trying to figure out what they're going to do in life or career. And I said, paid or unpaid, and this was sort of paid internship, but I look back at the relationships that I built and made during that internship, and almost everything that I've done, I could point back to that internship. But that originally brought me here. That summer between my junior senior year, I worked on a campaign north of Nashville and Hendersonville. And then when I graduated, one of the folks that I met during that campaign and internship, I'll never forget, it was literally a Sunday afternoon. This is how much it's ingrained in my memory, just how much I appreciate this individual. But it's 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, about a month out from graduation, 2013. This guy calls me named Josh Thomas, who's still kind of around the political world, and said, hey, this guy in state senator in Murfreesboro, Jim Tracy, is running for Congress, and he needs kind of a right hand, an A to Z guy to travel around with them. And so I was like, okay, I'd been to Murfreesboro. My high school team, basketball team, I was not on it, was actually really good during my time in high school. So I'd been to Murfreesboro quite a bit to watch our basketball teams play in state tournaments. And so I was like, center of the state, hadn't lived in Middle Tennessee really, but I'd gotten a glimpse of it. And originally when I graduated, I moved here to work on Jim's campaign for Congress in 2013, 2014. So that's originally what brought me here. Actually left his campaign, his election was August of 2014. I actually left the campaign early that May and went into ministry and spent about 3 years in ministry. Was on staff on an interim basis at New Vision right out of the gate. That's the first thing I did immediately after leaving Jim's campaign. And then moved to Hendersonville briefly and was college pastor at First Baptist there.
So talk about that ministry and how it's really affected our community. Because you guys have done an unbelievable job. My granddaughter, her boyfriend, both are in it. Both have given their lives to Christ. So impactful to me. Yeah. In our community.
New Vision specifically, or just the church?
New Vision.
Yeah. Well, I think for me personally, and I know there's a lot of people whose stories are similar, but I moved here right as I was just saying, right out of college. Most of my family's West Tennessee. I'd really put down 4 years of roots in Knoxville, and so I didn't know anybody, which I was used to. I was one of 2 people that went 6 hours from home to Knoxville for school, so it wasn't completely uncharted territory, but it was new, and just I'm telling you that the outreach that they do to the young people, that 18 to 25-year-old crowd, it's hard work. Dakota Logan is over that now, and I saw him at a birthday party this weekend, and he said, well, I'm about to be off for a while, and I said, like sabbatical off? And he was like, yeah, it's been 10 years. And I'm like, holy moly, because he was part of that ministry when I was there. Like, he wasn't in charge of it, we were in it together, and he's led it now for 10 years, which is crazy to see. But just like I talked about with my grandfather, but also my parents had a huge impact on my faith, and that was, besides community, obviously faith was something that was instilled in me at an early age that is important. And that relationship, not religion, but that relationship with Christ, and how that really informs everything that you do. And so thankfully for me, because that was instilled at an early age, I continued to really seek it out when I left home and when I moved here. And New Vision has been really for us kind of a respite place, and that's where we have found greater community as well. And been blessed the past couple of years to serve as a deacon there, and really be part of the direction that the church is going. And so
let's talk about your real estate and why you chose the team that you chose and all of that.
Yeah.
Parks is now a big national, has been sold.
Yeah.
Rooted, right, with Bud George, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Talk about it, that choice, and why Parks.
So I guess in 2020, the organization I was working for at the time, like a lot of organizations when COVID hit, cut salaries. And, because of my granddad and my mom, who also had her real estate license and was in community banking, I grew up around real estate. So I've always been intrigued and interested and followed real estate. And so when that happened, salary was cut, 15, 20%. We were at that point, I guess, 2 kids in. And I said, my wife it was important for her to be home. And I said, this is the last time that I let someone else dictate what my income is. And so went out and got my real estate license. And in that process, I had at this point in time had worked for now State Senator Shane Reeves, and Shane is still a friend and really at this point a mentor. And so any big decisions, family, life, career, financial, I go to Shane with them. And there's other guys kind of that I trust that do that, but Shane's certainly one of them. And I remember when I was looking going through that process, he suggested several different folks to sit down with around town, and as I was trying to decide where to hang my license and what to do and this and that. And Bud was one of those people, but also the interesting thing, I think until recently, Bud was in my phone as Mac Run Group. So when I moved here, back here in 2017 with my family to help Shane, I joined the Mac and got connected with Rod Key, and there was like this Tuesday, Thursday run group, and Bud was part of that run group, and so I'd gotten to know him through that. And so he was also kind of a natural person to reach out to, and obviously strong reputation of, at this point, almost 30 years in the real estate business in Rutherford County. And so sat down with him, and he wasn't really looking for new team members. But the more we sat down and talked and got to know each other, it's like, this might be a really great fit. And I thought so too, and was honored that he thought so. And so I joined his team, I guess in August of 21, to get into.
Well, you've been in there in the lean times. How are you weathering all of this? Because when I got fired from college coaching, Matt, I went into mortgage.
Yeah.
I was,
Very
I
similar.
was a financial econ major. I thought natural thing, go into banking.
Yeah.
Hated every moment of it, but enjoyed a lot of it because, again, I think we are a lot alike. We like to meet people.
Yep.
We are.
Yep.
And we're also community oriented. So it was really a pretty good fit at the time, not knowing what I was going to do the rest of my life until God hit me over the head with the 2x4, said, you're going to go to work for me, which I have done faithfully over the last 21 years. And I think that's when people are in community things, they forget how much all of our past has made it so that we could be guided by him and have success.
Yeah.
So talk about this. Has it been a struggle in real estate for you?
Yes and no. I mean, it's a sales role, right? But kind of like you alluded to with the people that the Lord has kind of brought into my path over the past really 10 years. What I've tried to do is draw from that and the folks that I've met. And, for me, it's been really good. 2022 was my first full year. Last year was second full year. And it's
So this is a normal market for you. You don't know any different.
Well, I mean, it's obviously changed dramatically. You're instead of sitting at a listing appointment with somebody and prepping to sell it over a weekend, you're prepping them for it to probably sit for 30 days, and explaining like it probably most likely has nothing to do with your house. It's just the fact that there's more homes out there that are available, and rates are higher, and so people are being very picky, and so that's certainly been a challenge. I mean, but a lot of what we talk about as a team is control the things that you can control, and that's your mindset. Not living in this negative mindset of woe is me, or when are they going to lower rates, and focus on loving on people and doing the right thing and adding value to people's lives. And if you do those things, our team, and a lot of, how at least Parks years ago and still now was set up was around those values. And, our team, we don't pay for leads. We're not, spending, $50,000 a month or a year on ads. And so it for us is really a relationship business, like to the T. It's, somebody at church says, hey, I know Matt, he's, high character, works hard. You guys should use him. He did a great job for us. I mean, that's really how we run our business, so to speak. It's a word of mouth. It's a, serve people well, do the right thing, and add value to their life. And the hope at that point, obviously, is that you've done a good job for them, and they want to refer their friends and family to you.
So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about your political background. You've been a lobbyist. We're going to do that when we get back. It's break time. So
All right.
that Brian doesn't yank me out of this seat.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates.
Renewable natural gas is an incredible resource with the ability to power your home and lifestyle. At Middle Point, we've broken ground on a state-of-the-art facility that will capture natural gas on-site and repurpose it into sustainable pipeline-quality gas.
Once operational, this facility will produce enough energy to heat 40,000 homes per year.
Learn more about this at middlepointlandfill.com. For public services, we are sustainability in action.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people, and much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Dell's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Families love Adams Place.
My daughter kept telling me that she wanted me to come to Adams Place. And I came here to look at the rooms. I decided to stay. And I'm not one bit sorry because I've been very well taken care of. And I have been very happy that I did come to Adams Place.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111. Adams Place.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
I've got pets.
Here's Tom Sweat with AmeriCare Services Incorporated.
AmeriCare's moisture control services include mold testing, mold remediation, crawl space repair, vapor barrier, sump pump installation, radon testing, radon mitigation, and basement waterproofing. If there's something wrong in your crawl space or basement, we can probably help. Just ask for a free inspection.
893-7111.
All the best of the best to get rid of your pets.
AmeriCare Services Incorporated.
For over 77 years, you've depended on WGNS for local news. Well, you still can. There are 2 free grief support groups every week. One's at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning over at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. That's at 325 St. Clair Street. Wednesday mornings at 10. The other is a little different. It's a walking grief support group. And the walk begins at the Picnic Pavilion Thursday mornings at 9:30, right next to Oakland's Mansion. They're both free and open to the public. The Parkinson Support Group meets on the first and third Friday of each month, 10 o'clock in the morning, at the St. Clair Street Senior Center. Don't forget the Garden Lovers Plant Sale this Saturday from 8 until noon, right there at 290 East Main. Some great perennials, houseplants, and native plants from the club's members' gardens. Once again, the Garden Lovers Plant Sale this Saturday from 8 until noon, and that's at 290 East Main, across from Junior's Foodland. And from News Radio WGNS, those are Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see a mixture of clouds and sunshine for this afternoon. Can't rule out a slight chance for an isolated shower or storm developing with high temperatures up to 94. I'm meteorologist Michael Caro, News Radio WGNS. Right now it's 84.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. Seriously looking at solar power generation? MTE offers a free consultation with an energy expert and has an entire library of educational resources. To learn more, visit mte.com/prosolar.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into WGNS and the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzier, founder and executive director of First Shot, and I'm going to do my shameless plug. This fall, we have the Autumn with the Alley, and if you'd like to find out more information about it, it helps fund our STEM program here in our community. So it all goes directly to students that are in that thing. We take none of it out. We put it all back in. So it's Autumn with the Alley. You can go to firstshotTN.com www.wgns.org and find out more information. Want to welcome back in Matt Herriman.
Thank you.
Matt, we're going to shift gears. We've talked about family and faith, and I always like to do that first because I think that's really, honestly, the most important.
It is, yeah.
It's what I think guides you after getting to know you a little bit, and it's what
Absolutely.
I like. So let's talk about how you got into politics, how you helped all these guys run their campaign, and what was your daily function with it. Let's get into the detail of it. So with Jim Tracy, tell us what a day would be like handling Jim, which I can't imagine doing.
Yeah, I don't know that you handle him. It's more just guiding. So I think that's what I have enjoyed most about, the work in the political space and even the real estate space is no day is ever the same. You don't ever know what's going to come at you. And I really love to solve problems. And so, I'm trying to think back to some of the things I did with Jim. I mean, some days we'd get up, crack it on before the sun was up, and we'd be on the road to maybe to Cleveland, Tennessee for some kind of Rotary breakfast or some sort of, he loved to hit around town we have several different coffee clubs, either at Hardee's or Reeves Sane or wherever it may be. So he'd find out where those were in other communities. And so we'd go and we'd sit down with a group of men who were community leaders in their community and have coffee, and then we may leave from there and we may go see one of the bank presidents, and then we may leave from there and go hit a fundraising lunch, and then we would probably go from there and do some door knocking. I mean, it just, in the campaign world, it was always very different. But when I was in the governor's office, it was a completely different story. It's similar in the sense of you didn't know what was going to happen with each day, and so that was a lot of fun to, wake up and, that was a lot of problem solving. Wake up and, you get to the office and, 10 things have happened since 6 o'clock the night before, and so you got to schedule meetings and make phone calls and go try and solve those problems.
So changing from running campaigns to a lobbyist. Talk about what your job as a lobbyist was. We don't have to, anybody wants to find out who he was a lobbyist for, then going, it's all printed out there.
Yeah, so
and you were over a lot of states, so it wasn't just Tennessee.
Yeah, so really when I was in the governor's office, I was a legislative liaison, which essentially our role on the governor's team was to work with the legislature. So every year, before session starts, we have, really they're probably getting ready to get started with all of the departments. We've got 20-something state departments, and so we oversaw those legislative teams within those departments. And so, in the fall, you start planning out all of that stuff, and our internal team on the governor's team, he has things that he wanted to, that he came in, was elected to do, and told voters that he wanted to accomplish. And so he kind of lays out his agenda. I think the first session in 2019, he had 29 bills, administration bills, that were things that he cared about. And so it was our role to take those to the legislature and essentially work those through the legislative process. So I did that for about a year.
Did any bill stick out to you that was more difficult than what you thought it was going to be to get through?
Oh, sure. That very first session, we came out with a education savings account piece of legislation. Some call it vouchers. And of course, it's kind of made the history book, so to speak, because on the House side, the voting board was held open for about 45 minutes because it was a tie, I believe it was initially. And so, that one I think was surprising at how difficult it was to get across the finish line, mostly because, it might have been ahead of the movement as far as with what President Trump had pushed at the federal level. But, I think, a lot of rural Republicans at the time and still somewhat now were, fearful. Very hesitant and fearful about it. So that was surprising. But, a few of the things that I'm most proud of that kind of ended up in like, these are your responsibility of the 29. One of those was setting up the Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives for the governor's office. And we'd never had one of those. They have one at the federal level, like there's one in the White House. No matter the party, there's for I don't know how many years. I think Bush might have set it up. But so we established the Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives as part of the governor's office.
So what does that initiative do?
They do a lot of work with nonprofits across the space, across the state. What we were seeing was there was a lot of really great work happening from Memphis to Mountain City in the nonprofit space, and a lot of continuity there, but a lot of these groups that may be doing the same thing were not communicating. And so what we
still happening.
It still happens, but I think what they thought is maybe we can be a resource for all these nonprofits in across the state, but maybe we can be a conduit to bring them together to communicate, and maybe they can work together across those grand divisions for the greater good of our communities.
So, shifting gears back here to town. You decided to run for councilman. What was that decision like, and why did you jump in?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, community service has been instilled in me since I could walk. And I think a lot of what I've done, from ministry to some time in the financial world, to the political roles that I've had, and then in real estate. I mean, all of those are really, in a lot of ways, community service careers. Even just like in the mortgage business, I mean, you're serving people, and when you're helping them with mortgage, and even in the real estate space, I mean, you're in their business. And a lot of people's finances are like some of the most, sacred things that they don't share with a lot of people. And so you're serving in those capacities. And so I think over the past 5, 6, 7 years, really starting out with serving in the governor's office, I think that was when I really thought, I think I'd like to seek public office at some point. Because I saw, of course, at the state level, in the governor's office, I mean, you've got a tremendous amount of ability to impact people's lives. I mean, when you're putting together a $40 billion budget and have a lot of latitude in how you spend that $40 billion. So that was when I really started to see the impact that you can have on people's lives in that space. And so I guess fast forward to now, I went to Shane Reeves, went to, my father-in-law is a really strong believer, and he's started 2 different banks in the Nashville market, and so incredibly smart when it comes to business and also community, and a couple of other trusted folks. And I guess late fall, early part of this year, and started talking about this, and then honestly, over the years, as I've explored different opportunities, I try to approach them prayerfully, and so I started asking the Lord, all right, if you want me to do this, and if this is not something that's self-centered, help me discern what your will is. And so really, in a lot of ways, one of the things I did was I wrote down a list of probably 6 to 8 things. Now, you could argue that maybe half of those I had some control over, but the other half I had no control over. And so I kind of said, okay, if this is what you want me to do, Lord, then I need every single one of these boxes to check. And they did. And they were, some of it was, one of them was having the governor's help. Just because I'd worked for him, he had no obligation to, to say, hey, you should vote for Matt Herriman in this council race. I don't know that there's ever been a governor really get involved in a council race, but that was one of the things. I worked for a charter school organization, and for the most part, they're my somewhat steady income, and so there was no way I could do this if they said, we don't want you to do this. And so, wife obviously being on board, and there's some folks in a lady named Rachel Barrett, who is bar none the best, at least Republican fundraiser probably in the Southeast, who's based here in Tennessee. And I don't know that she's ever done a council race and may never do another one after this. But it's like, I'd like Rachel's help. So, and she's helped in this process. So I
believe that local government shouldn't be Republican or Democrat. It should be, what do you bring to the table with solutions to our problems? But it's become nasty. How do you rise above all that, Matt? So not get into the fray of it, because I just think it's becoming nasty.
It is. That's, the culture of the political world has been like that. I remember when I interned at the state legislature, it was, everybody, they had their stance and they felt strongly about it, but they had a tremendous amount of respect for the person that they were sitting across from. And when they left the room, they shook hands and they went and had a drink or went to lunch or whatever. And I think part of somewhat the attractiveness, I guess, if that's may not be the best word, but for me running for council is the nonpartisan nature of it, and just the fact that there really is so few things that the council takes on that's a red or blue issue. And so I think that's part of what attracted me to doing this. And then obviously from a family dynamic, it's not as disruptive as if I were to run for something that would send me to Nashville 5 months out of the year. And so I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well,
but
you answered it that it's most things local aren't a blue or red issue. It's a community issue.
Services and community.
And how do we solve the problems that are coming up?
That's
so
right.
Thought you did a great job. If there are some things that you see clearly that are problems, what are they that are facing our cities right now?
So I would say one of the things that as I'm going around and talking to folks, is I've come up with the ABCs for Murfreesboro: achieve, believe, and commit. And so achieve in education, believe in safety, and then commit to infrastructure. And so I think the infrastructure piece is the hardest piece. Who doesn't complain about traffic?
Well, so a lot of people don't know, we took 3 years and went and lived up at our lake house, which we have sold and now moved back. My wife said, when we moved back, you can't let the traffic affect you, because it's here with us, and I don't think there's an easy solve.
No.
So you say commit to traffic. What are some of the things that could be easy fix or long-term fix? I see some fixes that have gone on, but
That's
some
right.
of those, what we don't understand, aren't the city's fix.
That's exactly right.
Could be federal fixes in it. There could be state fixes
That's
in
right.
it. Not every road in Murfreesboro belongs to the city.
That's right.
So,
but a lot of people don't realize that. But our main, you're making a great point, and so our main roads that most everybody uses every single day: Old Fort Parkway, New Salem Highway, Memorial Boulevard, Broad Street, Thompson Lane. All 5 of those are state roads. So we can't just go out and send a city crew to start digging up and widening those roads, it takes a lot of collaboration and strategic thinking to plan those projects out. And also, it's not sexy to talk about, but there's right of way that has to be bought. There's major road projects, widening projects like that, especially ones where you have to work with the state on, could truly take 8 to 10 years from the time you say we want to do this to the time it starts. And
how do we get rid of that red tape?
I think the governor's really tried to change how TDOT operates. And my friend Butch Ely is the commissioner of TDOT. Butch was on the transition team with me, and then when we started, when the administration was set up and started after the governor was inaugurated, I think he was initially like the commissioner of finance and administration and deputy governor. But now he's TDOT commissioner. But Butch has a private sector background in the road industry. And so I know they have been very intentional about trying to get that department and other departments, but to run it more as a business. Now look, government's not meant to be fully ran as a business and move as quick. I mean, you're spending taxpayer dollars, so it shouldn't be something that you should be able to go out and just quickly do. But again, 10 years is a long time for something to take place. And so I know they have, with some of the interstate system, but also other state roads, they've really worked on trying to do some public-private partnerships in order to fast track those things so that they don't take so long. But I think when it comes to infrastructure, I do believe my relationships at the state level, I mean, you get told this all your life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think the more I've done and the older I've gotten, the more I realize that really is the case. And I'm not saying just because I get elected to council that all of a sudden it's all going to get fast-tracked, but being able to make those phone calls to the governor's office, to the TDOT commissioner, to the commissioner of economic and community development, Stuart McWhorter, I mean, that makes a difference. I think it really does.
Well, again, we're going to take our last break and come right back and finish up with Matt Herriman, councilman, hopefully one of our next ones.
That's the sound of steak searing in its juices on your new pellet grill. You heard that right. The Weber Searwood Pellet Grill can smoke low and slow at 180 degrees all the way to a high heat sear at 600. With the Weber Searwood, you can cook on the direct flame over the full grate sear zone. You'll hear the gasp of amazement from friends and family when you serve the food. Cooking with the Weber Searwood Pellet Grill just sounds delicious and tastes even better. Because you want to hear bacon and eggs on your outdoor griddle, not the scraping of rust. Introducing the Weber Slate rust-resistant griddle. Stays ready, not rusty, with a carbon steel cooktop, pre-seasoned and ready to cook on right out of the box. The Weber Slate heats evenly edge to edge up to 500 degrees. All you'll hear is the gasp of amazement from friends and family when you serve the food. Cooking with the Weber Slate rust-resistant griddle just sounds delicious and tastes even better.
All right, guys, load them up.
Market vendors make the trek to Murfreesboro.
We've got the sweet corn
from over a dozen Middle Tennessee counties.
Potatoes.
To bring you a wide variety of seasonal fruits, vegetables, meats.
Got the fresh cut bacon on there.
Eggs, flowers, plants, shrubs, and trees.
I'm so glad you guys are back.
We love what we do.
The Rutherford County Farmers Market at the indoor open-air community center at the Lane Agri Park in Murfreesboro.
Open every Tuesday and Friday until the end of October, 7 to noon.
Bud's Tire has been helping Rutherford County with tires, oil changes, brakes, and more since 1987. This is Kay Mitchell, and even though we opened Bud's Tire in 1987, Bud started changing tires with his father next to the old hardware store in the 1950s. Just as it was true in the 50s, it is still true today. At Bud's Tire, you will always get friendly customer service. Visit Bud's Tire on the Old Woodbury Highway or call us at 896-TIRE. That's 896-8473.
Hey guys, this is Scott. If you're often feeling tired, notice a lack of motivation and drive, or weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. I recommend Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked. With their on-site lab, you'll get your results in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office either. It's concierge medicine for men, and their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with a customized treatment plan for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results, and most health insurance is accepted for treatment. And at Low T Center, they have convenient treatment options, including physician-monitored self-inject treatment for established patients that ship directly to your home each month. Right now at Low T Center, it's only $25 to get your testosterone level tested. You'll get your results in about 25 minutes. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome back into WGNS and the Roundtable. I'm Andy Herzer, founder and director of First Shot. Matt, we're going to get to the A and the B of your, which I liked your C. So give me a little bit about your A.
So achieve in education. And, you know, I know a lot of people out there probably think, well, what does the council have to do with education? Really, there's not a lot. But I think, you know, we are the funders of the city school system. And so I think looking at what we spend on education is important, and how it's spent. And, you know,
the board directs the council and the mayor direct who our superintendent is, correct? They hire and fire that position, which leadership to me and you is the most important thing in any organization. So again, it is important.
It is
that we invest in our youth. I'm in a youth ministry.
Absolutely.
Believe me, I'm invested in young kids and young kids' hearts. So expound on that a little bit. How does that work?
Well, I think when I talk about it from at least the council perspective, I mean, I've got my own policy beliefs on when it comes to education, but I think as far as the role of councilmen, I want to come at it from an oversight perspective, since that's essentially the role of the council, and I want to make sure that as many dollars as we allocate to the school system, that it's being maximized to the classroom, to the student, so that those students are getting the best return on that investment, because that's what it is. We're investing those dollars into the school system, taxpayer dollars, and so I want to make sure that they're being spent to the benefit and the flourishing of all of our students across the city.
Awesome. Talk about the B now.
So believe in safety. So I think so much, and this, you know, if so much of growth in our community, really education, job growth, and attracting jobs comes to having a safe place to live. When your community becomes no longer safe to live and work and play, you know, you're not going to continue to attract all the people that are moving here. And so I think you're seeing that to some degree in Memphis with the way that crime is. People are moving away from there because they don't want to be there. And that's translated into the education system and the job market. And so I think as a community, we want to look our law enforcement officers in the eye and say, we value you in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I think we want to attract the best of the best. I commend the current council. I think this new budget is increasing salaries for our law enforcement officers, but I don't think it just stops with police officers. We've got to also invest in our EMS and firefighters and ensure that they have the resources that they have when they walk into that fire hall, when they close the door on that patrol car, that they feel like they are valued members of this community. Because I think that's where it starts. If you can attract good people to be part of law enforcement, then you've got to figure out what are we doing or what can we do to make sure that we're attracting the best of the best, because keeping our community safe is paramount to public safety and that again bleeds over into education, bleeds over into job growth, the whole 9 yards.
Well, you know, you're talking about all three: schools, firemen, police officer, EMT. We can lump them maybe a little bit together on that. It all boils down to leadership and morale. And
That's right.
Whose oversight of the leadership and morale? Who's getting a pulse on that? Is that city council? Is that Mayor McFarland? Where does that fall?
I think it's a collective effort with the council, and obviously we also have a city manager, and so a lot of that oversight falls there. But again, it does start with leadership, that's morale, and making sure that those guys again feel like they are valued members of our community. And I think with the way the world is right now, and how culturally, in a lot of ways, it's maybe less attractive to be a police officer, at least in some areas of this country. But I think what we want to do is plant a flag in the ground and let people in law enforcement know you're welcome here. We want you here. You're valued here. We need you here. So that's how I feel about that.
So Matt, you got a couple minutes. Tell people of Murfreesboro that are listening, why should they vote for you?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and being able to talk and share. And I love doing this. So this is a lot of fun. So I look at this as me applying for a job. You know, a lot of people have asked, you know, some very specific questions about certain things that go on at the city, and so I see this as me applying for a job. I've seen the job description, you know, some of the duties and so on and so forth of you know, what a councilman does, but there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I don't want to be the type of person that pretends that I know the answer to everything, or that I know that everything about everything that goes on. So but I'm applying for the job, a public office for councilman, and I believe I have a unique background and skill set from, you know, the political world to the financial world, the real estate world, my time in ministry, that has uniquely equipped me to serve in this capacity. And so I'm asking the people of Murfreesboro to trust me and to give me the opportunity to serve them as their councilman, because I think I can make them proud.
So, Matt, again, I appreciate you coming on. One of the hardest things about this seat that I have been asked to do is find people that want to come on and we'll talk, you know, and it's been very easy to have this hour with you. And I want to wish you the best of luck. For me, I think it's people that look like me needs to start to step aside a little bit and start allowing young people, and I think you are a little bit wiser beyond your years because of all the experience you have. I'm doing a shameless plug for you. All right.
Thank you.
And I like the wisdom that you bring to the table, and also humble enough to know that you don't know everything. And so you guys, if they want to get a hold, help Matt Herriman get elected, how do they get a hold of you?
HerrimanForCityCouncil.com. That's my website, HERRIMAN, HerrimanForCityCouncil.com. That's got all of my info there. My cell phone, I'm not ashamed to give that out. It's probably somewhere anyways online, but it's 731-609-6995. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to come say hello, meet you and your neighbors. We're going to be out in neighborhoods and communities over the next several weeks and months. Early voting starts July 12th, which is upon us.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner, and we'll wrap up July 27th, and then obviously Election Day is on August 1st.
Matt, last but not least, how do you balance all this as a young man, father, husband?
Staying grounded in God's Word. I mean, that sounds a little cliche, but it's that, and it's community. That's what I love about New Vision is they are not shy about telling people you need to be in a small group. You need to be in a small group. And some people get tired of them doing that. I mean, they're building a building right now to get people in small groups. But I cannot tell you, when you go through life's highest highs and lowest lows, and we've been through some of those over the past 10 years as a couple and a family, to have a group of other couples, young and old, around you that come around you and love on you. But that's how. It's family and it's faith for me. Everything goes back to that. So that's how I'm going to make it through August 1st.
Well, next 3 weeks, when my dad was a Republican running for, what's the county's kind of
county commissioner.
Yeah. I got tired of barbecue. I got tired of picnics. I mean, it's probably why I'm not in politics, because I got tired of shaking all them hands as a young kid, going to every parade that was ever known to man. But to you, I really, truly appreciate your heart and your spirit. And again, if you guys don't know him, for a young man, he's done an awful lot. He's engaged in our community. And again, I just want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Again, I'm Andy Herzier. I'm founder and executive director of First Shot. And again, just one last shameless plug. You can go to our website, firstshottn.org. You can find out more about what we've done over the last 21 years in our community.